What it do, flight crew? FTC. Flight team stand up! It's July. What a time to be alive. We got the man, Jimmy High Roller. This is starting to get ugly. I think I know what he's talking about. Let's check it out.
In 2012, the United States assembled
I knew it was coming.
basketball teams of all time.
Team USA can't be losing games like that, man.
Kevin Durant, along with many other NBA superstars. This team was pretty much a cheat code, beating every team by a lot.
Right.
But no victory was quite as lopsided as their game against Nigeria, when Team USA scored 153 points and beat Team Nigeria by 83.
Damn, they beat them by 260, bro.
Victory in the history of Olympic basketball. And I bring up this monumental defeat because just
Team USA signed FlightReacts.
The Olympic basketball team played Nigeria again, and they lost. The United States Olympic basketball team lost to Nigeria. This is a massive turn of events. United States basketball has only lost 5 games in 85 years. Their all-time record is 138-5. 3 of those losses occurring during the infamous 2004 Olympic run. So it would be an understatement to say that this does not happen often. The US brought the league's brightest stars to the Olympics, and although this was just an exhibition game, the NBA's best players couldn't weather the storm that Nigeria threw at them.
Crazy.
And you're probably thinking, it's just one game, and a game that doesn't even matter at that. What's the big deal?
And Dellavedova with a great punch out to Ingles for the exclamation point. Australia up by 8 with 3 seconds left.
Went out sad, bro.
2 straight losses for Team USA.
Yeah. Coming right off their loss against Nigeria, the US lost again to Australia. This time,
Ew, look how he shoots.
This is not a fluke. Something big is going on here. That's 2 straight losses for Team USA basketball. Again, up until last week.
Hey man, but to give credit to, like, look, like teams like Australia and like all the other, like, you know, other teams overseas, like they actually are pretty talented. Like they have very good fundamentals. Like you don't have to be 50-inch vert and have 4.2 speed. You know what I'm saying, to get and win games and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like Nigeria and Australia actually have very, you know what I'm saying, good fundamentals. You know, and hey, Team USA can't. Honestly, it's their defense. That's the defense that's been lacking, bro.
Olympic team.
It's going to be really ugly Olympics for the U.S.
Ever. In 2012, the U.S. walked Australia in the Olympics. And now, this. So, what's going on here? Well, there has been a shift of power in international basketball that has been taking place over the past decade. And we are seeing this shift on full display. For years, the United States was virtually untouchable on the court. Games almost looking like scrimmages, blowouts within the first quarter. But over the last 10 years or so, international basketball has gotten exponentially better, and in many cases, completely caught up to the level of basketball we see in the NBA. I mean, just look at this. These clips are from the 1992 Olympics, where the US literally looked like an NBA team playing against a junior varsity team with a losing record.
Yay! Junior Rahara will be watching us. He said junior varsity team.
Who was taking home the gold before the games even began. Compare that to today's USA team, and not only did Nigeria and Australia outplay the US altogether, they shot better, they rebounded better, they controlled the pace of the game better, they moved the ball better, and I think part of this is because the US team simply underestimated these international.
No, they just don't have the talent. FlightReacts does it better. Sign them.
Of course, this was not the case. But even when the US team came off of their historic loss last week, nothing changed between then and their loss against
I'm not gonna lie, CP3 do be a nice addition to like Team USA. Because I remember watching him back in like the 08 times and everything like that, bro. He be doing some like sick ass stuff on the court, bro.
Years to accomplish.
Team USA need a more all-around point guard. Like Damian Lillard's more of like the scorer first, bro.
In 2016, they lost to the US by 44. And last week, they beat the US by 3. Not a huge sample size, but certainly a trend is taking place here. And this same trend can be seen throughout the rest of the international basketball world. On Saturday, the U19 FIBA World Cup final.
Oh, look at that fake pass! I'm stealing that move for sure.
In a game that went down to the final possession, the United States just barely squeaked out a win. The best player on the court was not one of the top 15 recruits the US has to offer. It was a 7'3" demigod from France. The US has spent the last 4 decades with a clear and dominant edge over the rest of the basketball world. But every single year that edge becomes smaller and smaller. Let's take a look at the best players in the NBA in the 1980s. 1. Only one of the top 20 players of that decade was foreign-born or was of foreign nationality. In the 1990s, the number of top NBA players with foreign nationality jumped to just 2. In the 2000s, that number had a slight jump to 4. And in the 2021 season, out of the consensus top 20 NBA players, 6 are of foreign nationality. But here's what's even crazier. Out of the top 25 NBA players under the age of 27, 10 of them are foreign-born or of foreign nationality. 10. Just a decade ago, this number was maybe 1 or 2.
Why is that Jay Morant dude there? He's not even on the U.S. team. He didn't make it. FlightReacts would have though.
Most fans consider the next face of the league is foreign-born. This season's runner-up in the MVP was also foreign-born. This season's Defensive Player of the Year, a foreign player. So the international takeover on the league is obvious. But if I had to explain why this is happening and happening at such a rapid rate, I would say that first and foremost, the NBA is a league of situations. There's always going to be superstars who stand out no matter what. But for most players, their success is heavily dependent on the situation they're in and how well they fit. Take Manu Ginobili, an international legend who led Argentina to an Olympic gold medal in 2004, beating the US in the process. In the NBA, he was an incredible player, but he was never the leader of his team.
Because they didn't start him.
And he played that role. But during international
Ginobili low-key should go on a team like the Heat.
And he was more than capable of being the leader of a gold medal team. Even role players like Patty Mills, Rudy Fernandez, and Luis Scola really shined when they were put in a situation that better suited their abilities. Second, and this is more to do with why the US lost to these other countries, and I know this is a hot take, but it's just flat out harder to score in international play than it is in the NBA.
No, it's not.
Defenses are tighter. Guys are playing for their country, so they take pride in every single possession. The game is less about the individual and more about the team. So
bro, I'm dropping 15, bro, a game in Team USA. Come on, Lillard. What is that, Lillard?
Every single game.
I'm glad they didn't show that in the highlights. I would have been roasting them.
Of a playoff basketball game. And a lot of these
Curry would never. Curry does it better. He did it better.
Experienced in this environment, whereas the United States is loaded with young talent that has a relatively low experience.
What the hell, Draymond? I'm glad they didn't show that in the highlights. I would have been on his head.
So most of the time, the goal.
Why isn't Jokic playing? What the fuck? They just don't want to win, bro. Team USA just don't want it. Whoever was a coach and recruiter, bro, they need to fire him, bro.
10,000% on both ends. That buckets first mentality goes right out the window. Luka Doncic actually spoke about this when he first came to the NBA, saying that he has a much easier time scoring in the NBA than he did in the EuroLeague. And last and most importantly, the gap between the United States and the rest of the world in basketball comes down to opportunity and resources. For decades, many other countries have had talented young players with the skills to play in the NBA, but the resources and opportunities available to these players was very limited. Oftentimes, foreign facilities aren't nearly as nice. There's less funding, less top-tier coaching available, and less basketball circuits to play in that would give these young, talented athletes the exposure they needed to make it to the next level. There's no better example of this than Arvydas Sabonis, a massive 7'3" super talent from Lithuania and father of
broke the rim.
Domantas Sabonis. If Arvydas came to the United States and played in the NBA during his prime, he would have easily been one of the game's great big men.
Yeah, he looks like he's pretty nice.
Called Sabonis a 7'3" Larry Bird. Just imagine a far more athletic 7'3" Nikola Jokic. Just look at what he was doing to the United States Olympic team when he was 20 years old. That's not just some random guy he's guarding. That's David Robinson. But growing up in 1970s Lithuania, Sabonis was getting minimal exposure as a young prospect and had difficulty even traveling to the United States after he was drafted in 1986. Fast forward a decade, and Sabonis finally played in his first NBA game as an injury-riddled 30-year-old.
What?
He was still an incredible player, and the entire timeline of his career was dictated solely.
I remember seeing his card on 2K. I'm like,
just
yeah.
Look at his reaction from broadcasters when the Blazers selected him in the 1986 NBA draft.
For the last pick of the first round of the NBA draft, America's game, the Portland Trailblazers select Arvydas Sabonis of the Soviet Union.
Bro, that's fucked up, man.
Well, that's going to be an interesting selection.
Bro, that's messed up, man.
Good night, nurse.
Ridiculous. Just ridiculous.
You don't even know nothing about basketball.
Stupid or something.
Just the idea of drafting a foreign-born player with no U.S. exposure was damn near impossible for them to wrap their minds around.
That's so crazy they thought like that back in the day, bro.
And thanks to exposure from the internet,
There's no cap, bro. There is a lot of like foreign basketball players, bro, that will like shit on NBA players, bro. They just either don't have the exposure or, like he said, the resources and stuff, man.
Basketball
That's messed up, man.
Worldwide sports, young super talents from countries outside of the U.S. are getting recognition much earlier. Because of the basketball boom that has taken place over the last decade thanks to efforts by Adam Silver and other NBA executives, basketball is now a sport that gets far more resources dedicated to it in these other countries because the idea of a young foreign player actually making it to the NBA is a reality and not just some far-fetched dream. Just ask yourself, would Nikola Jokic have made the NBA in 1980s Serbia? Would a 19-year-old Luka Doncic have ever seen the NBA in 1970s Slovenia?
That's sad too, man, because it probably wouldn't have.
Coaches available to develop these young players. See, the talent has always been there. It's not like Team Nigeria has seen a random surge of great basketball players. It's just that these players now have the tools necessary to really hone in on their talents. And I think this is a trend that will become more and more apparent as time goes on. The rest of the world is catching up to the US in terms of basketball, which is just going to continue to push the league to newer and better heights. More competition breeds better results, and I wouldn't be surprised that if in 10 years the NBA is far more diverse than it is now.
It needs to be more diverse. I don't know why it isn't, bro.
Norway or Japan,
Nobody's
or Germany,
special than somebody else, man.
On someone's head in the 2035 NBA season. In today's NBA,
NBA don't be thinking. Like, not even just the NBA sports in general, bro. Like, make this shit more diverse, bro. Like, are y'all serious? Y'all literally holding back exposure and TV views and shit,
whether you're
man.
from the United States, Greece, Slovenia, Serbia, or Nigeria. And if you ask me, that's how it should be. Hope you all enjoyed.
Hey, man, this is your man. Come on over, let's share this.